I want to show you how you can make use of prep for combining data via a join. Let me see whether I've set everything. Okay. I'm going to remove this. I will take the time at the end to browse through your questions and to see whether I can, which one I'm going to answer. All right, I'm going to remove my connection here and I'm going to connect to Superstores. Those working with Tableau Desktop know the data set most of the time because it's a pre-made data set. So I'm going to click text file. No, it's an Excel, sorry. And there it is. Now, what's the difference with previous situation? And what we've seen now, we've done a union, putting data which has the same format under each other and stacking it. Now, in Superstore, the story is differently. We have this Excel with multiple tabs where we have the orders. Let me just drag it on to give you an idea what the data is we're working with. We do know how to add the clean step by now. So what do we have? We have a row ID or typical order IDs. The order was made on a specific date. The order was shipped on a specific date. It can be shipped in first class, same class, etc., etc. And I hope this screen already becomes a little bit more familiar for you, because what are all these things? Well, we do know that these are actually distribution graphs of my data. For example, what do we easily can see if we sort it here? Most of my postal codes are 10,035. If I sort this, most of my orders were made in the West, at least at the row level. Which categories are doing best? Of supplies sells most, not most turnover maybe, but at least most at the transactional level. So this is a bigger data set. But imagine that you want to join in some information. Typically, it's 2020, people order something online and they return it, for example. However, that information about whether something is returned or not resides in another data set. So in this case, I have this information about my orders, which are being returned in a separate file, maybe even a separate database. I can drag on the returns tab, and let's have a look what's in there. And actually pretty straightforward. I have an order ID with the yes label. So it basically means that this is the full list of all the orders which got returned in the past up till now. Good. How do I join this information in Tableau Prep together so I can analyze it further? Well, it's pretty easy. I can just take my step, and we're not going to do the union, which we did earlier, but now we will take the join functionality. And there's quite a bit going on right here, so let me guide you through it. My advice would be, and it's a general advice when working with data, making data flows, is to monitor the number of rows you actually have at all times. How do you do that in Prep? Let me go one step back. So I here see that I have, let me zoom in, 21K rows. So I just want to join in the fact whether the specific order got returned or not. So I want to keep an equal amount of rows after my join. Here I see, for example, that 296 orders got returned. So we're going to join. And when doing a join, at least you need to define a key on how you want to enrich the one source with the other. It's pretty clean interface, it's nicely color-coded, etc. But how do we need to read it? So under the settings, you can choose your join classes. The nice thing with Tableau and also Tableau Prep is the fact that if you have equally named column names, it will automatically assume that this is your join key. This has advantages, but sometimes it just puts in everything and then you need to remove a few keys. But in this particular case, we are going to join information on the order ID. So from my left data set, which is orangey colored, you nicely see I'm taking the order key, order ID. And from the right one is also called order ID. I will put that in the join. Now, those of you who are familiar with joins probably know that you have this thing called an inner join, left join, full outer join. Well, in Tableau Prep, and let me zoom in, it's as easy as just selecting which part you need or don't need. If I want to do an analysis on the orders, on only the orders who got returned, I would choose here to do an inner join, which would result in a data set only containing the returned ones. I could do a left join, keeping all the orders, but including the information whether it got returned or not. So let me see. What we want is that we keep the same number of rows before and after the join because we just enrich the information in. So here we see we have 10K rows, and after a join we have 10K rows. What else is there? You can see which information is actually being joined and which ones are being mismatched. So by selecting and deselecting the checkbox here. We will go into this later as well. Okay, so I have enriched the information, so I expect that information to be there somewhere. And the nice thing is that Tableau also color codes the columns where it comes from. So if I'm going to browse here, I'm expecting to find a return field. So here you nicely see that the return field has been added to my view. If you're working with big data sets, you saw that I didn't feel like scrolling the whole way to it and visually queuing where the column resides. Just type in to check whether the column is there, and then you see it has null, of course, for the records which didn't were returned, and a yes for the ones who were. So it nicely has joined it in. Good. Another thing I want to join in is the regional responsible people, the people who are responsible for a specific region. Let me quickly show you how that data looks like. So I'm going to drag in from the left data from a new tab like this. I'm going to add a clean step to it to browse it. There's not too much going on, but it's just getting an idea on how to enrich information. So we have these names, Anna, Chuck, Kelly, Cassandra, who are respectively responsible for the West, East, Central, and South. Let's do another join. I grab my step, I hover over it, and I'm not going to do a union, I'm going to do a join. And again, Tableau by default will check whether there is a region column. So yes, in this output there is a region column, and yes, in this output there is a region column. So they do match. I only want to work with the records where there is a match between the regions. So I'm gonna keep this on inner join. And I'm going to continue and see whether the enrichment has taken place. So what I now assume is that, let me browse through it. I now nicely have the notion of the regions together with the names in my data set, which is the case. One thing I didn't inform you about is when you join in information from another source, the common fields get joined in as well. So why do let me show you. If I look for region, I now have two columns called region. Yeah, this is logic because in the people tab, we had a column called region, and the same thing for my other input file, or tab better. So I can safely remove this, and that's